Have you ever wondered how a single act of kindness, even the smallest one, can change the course of an entire life? This is the story of a boy so poor, he had nothing left in this world except his last pair of shoes. And yet, in a moment of selfless generosity, he gave them away. What happened years later will leave you with hope, tears, and a lesson you'll never forget. This is the story of the boy who sold his last shoe. The village was small, surrounded by dusty roads and fields that stretched endlessly beneath the scorching sun. In that village lived a boy named Amir. Amir was only 12 years old, yet life had already taught him the taste of hardship. His father had passed away when he was little, and his mother worked tirelessly stitching clothes for neighbors just to put food on the table. But even with all her effort, Amir often went to bed hungry. The boy owned nothing. No toys, no books, no comfort. His most valuable possession was a pair of old, worn-out leather shoes. They weren't new. In fact, they had passed through 3 owners before finally reaching his feet. The stitching was coming apart, and the soles were thin. But to Amir, they were a treasure. Why? Because they were his only protection against the burning ground in summer and the freezing mud in winter. Those shoes were his pride, his only piece of dignity. One afternoon, after a long day of collecting firewood, Amir was walking back to his small hut. His feet ached, and his body longed for rest. That's when he saw a man sitting by the roadside. The man looked weak, exhausted. His clothes were torn, his face pale with hunger. He had no shoes. His bare feet were cut and bruised from walking miles on the rough ground. Amir stopped. For a moment, he just stared. The man's eyes lifted slowly and met his. There was no need for words. Amir could see the pain, the helplessness, the quiet plea for mercy in that man's gaze. In that instant, the boy's heart ached. He looked down at his own shoes, his only shoes, the only thing he had left. And then Amir did something unthinkable. With trembling hands, Amir bent down and began unlacing his shoes. The stranger's eyes widened. "No, child, you need them," the man whispered weakly. But Amir shook his head. "You need them more," he said softly. And just like that, Amir placed his shoes in the man's hands. The man looked at them, then back at Amir, and tears filled his eyes. He tried to speak, but no words came out. He slipped the shoes on, relief spreading across his tired face. Amir smiled faintly, even as the hot ground burned beneath his now bare feet. He turned and continued walking home. Each step hurt, each pebble cut. But Amir carried something inside his heart, something stronger than pain, the quiet joy of kindness. Days turned into weeks. Without shoes, Amir's life grew harder. He walked barefoot to fetch water, to collect wood, to run errands. His feet became blistered and scarred. Neighbors pitied him. Some even laughed at his foolishness. "Why would you give away the only thing you had?" they asked. But Amir never regretted it. He would simply smile and say, "Because someone needed them more." Little did he know, that single act of kindness would not be forgotten. Years passed. Amir grew older. He became a young man, strong but still poor. Life was still a struggle, but his heart remained pure. One day an announcement spread through the village. A wealthy merchant from the city was visiting. He was looking for honest, hard-working young men to help manage his expanding trade. Amir, with nothing to lose, decided to try his luck. When he arrived at the merchant's camp, his eyes widened. The man standing at the center looked strangely familiar. It was him, the stranger from years ago. The merchant's eyes fell on Amir. For a moment, he studied the young man's face. Then suddenly, recognition lit his features. He stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Do you remember me?" Amir frowned, unsure, and then, as he noticed the merchant's fine shoes that seemed too familiar, memories rushed back. "Yes," Amir whispered. "You were the man on the road." The merchant's eyes filled with tears. "You gave me your shoes when I had nothing. That act of kindness saved me. I was on the brink of giving up that day, but your gift gave me strength to continue my journey, and from there my life changed." The merchant placed his hand on Amir's shoulder. "Now it is my turn to give back." The merchant offered Amir a position, not as a servant, but as a trusted apprentice. He taught him trade, business, and skills that Amir had never dreamed of learning. With every passing year, Amir grew wiser and more skilled. The merchant treated him like a son. Soon, Amir became a successful man in his own right, respected wealthy and kind. And through it all, he never forgot. The day he gave away his last pair of shoes. Life has a mysterious way of returning kindness. Sometimes when we give without expecting anything in return, when we sacrifice even what little we have, the universe, or perhaps God himself, keeps a record. Amir's shoes were old and worn out, but the value of his heart, his compassion, was priceless, and that became the foundation of his destiny. So remember this, no act of kindness is ever wasted. Even the smallest gesture, the simplest sacrifice, can set in motion a chain of miracles that will return to you when you least expect it. Like Amir, the boy who gave away his last shoe and found a life richer than he had ever dreamed. Because kindness always finds its way back. True wealth is not in what we keep, but in what we give.